We're already here in front of the screen, and we're going to read the text Enki and Ninmah. This text, as we found earlier, is right here. When we come back here, when we click on corpus context by number and Unicode, here under narrative and mythological compositions, we find Enki and Ninmah here, and we pull up the translation. I've already left some other texts open here, and we're going to go through this text. In those days, in the days when heaven and earth were created. In those nights, in the nights when heaven and earth were created. In those years, in the years when destinies were determined. When the Inana gods, or Anunnaki, were born. When the goddesses were taken in marriage, when the goddesses were distributed in heaven and on earth, when the goddesses became pregnant and gave birth, when the gods were forced to. Ellipsis in question, we don't know what's written in the original. When the goddesses became pregnant and gave birth, when the gods were forced to. Forced to do what? We already know they were probably going to work, right? But the question is there. Their food, dining halls, the higher gods supervised the work, while the lesser gods endured the labor. The gods were digging the channels. No one is talking about mining gold here, right? The gods were digging channels. I don't remember exactly what's written in English, but I'll show you, right? The gods were digging the channels. Okay. The gods were digging the channels and piling up the mud in Harali. I don't know. Let's not get into that here. The gods crushing the tail, the tail. Sorry, the gods crushing the clay began to complain about this life. At that time, the one of great wisdom, the creator of all the higher gods, Enki, was lying in his bed, not waking from his sleep, in the depths of the Angur, in the underground waters, the place within which no other god knows, only him.
Course originally recorded in Portuguese and dubbed using artificial intelligence. The course was recorded in 2022, when I was not yet a full-time YouTuber. The knowledge presented here is a treasure, as it brings the scientific foundations that qualified my research and are the resources I use to produce the videos on this channel. I know this dubbed voice is a bit monotonous. Although I speak English fluently, I chose to dub this content because it is older, and I wouldn't be able to re-record 10 videos with the same quality I managed to achieve back then.
The god said, weeping, he is the cause of the lament. Ninmah, the primordial mother who gave birth to the ancient gods, took the tears of the gods to the one who slept, to the one who had not awakened in his bed, to her son. In other words, he's really lying there, sleeping, and we can't make out what's written. Is he not awake? The gods, his creatures, are crushing there. Ellipsis, we don't know what's written. I think that's beautiful, you know, because we don't make things up when we don't know, but at the same time it's curious. Why is it about the things that aren't there, right? Yeah, my science side and my conspiracy side clash there. The conspiracy side says there must be something there, right? That's why they don't put it in. And the science side says, when we don't know, we don't make it up, we just use ellipses. My son, get up from your bed. Please use the skill derived from your wisdom and create a substitute so that the gods, so that they can be freed from their toil. Let's open here, 12:23. Between 12 and 23, and let's see something interesting. Here we have Enki. We have the drawing here that I told you about, which shows that Enki is a god. We are between 8:12 and 8:23. I had even forgotten what the range was. Let's skim through here because I want to show you something. Let's go back to the beginning. I want you to follow along with me to see if we find Galsu here in the middle. Why am I saying this? Because in Zecharia Sitchin's theory, we have Galsu talking to Enki here and telling him the solution in this semi-sleeping state. And not in we don't have Galsu's name here. Forgive me if you're seeing it there and I'm just not noticing. I've read this text before and I don't remember ever coming across it. Every time I come here, I try to see if maybe I missed it at some point, and if it's not here, and we can see that it's not here. Because Galsu also means wisdom. And Galsu, here we have, well, the matter of wisdom, here, derived from his wisdom, there's a substitute. But anyway, it's not. A substitute is not a slave, it is a substitute. So that the gods, so that they may be freed from their toil. God rests on the seventh day, right? We'll look at number 7 here as well. At the word of his mother Ninmah, Enki rose from his bed. Do you see who was talking to him? Ninmah. That's it, it was his mother. Enki rose from his bed in a laukug, his space for reflection. I don't know all these names and I don't know everything that's written, okay? Unfortunately, there are things here that I don't understand. You can't master everything. The subject is huge. He slapped his thigh in annoyance. The wise and intelligent one, the prudent one, ellipsis of skill, creator of the design of everything, who gave life to the goddesses of birth. Enki stretched out his arm over them and turned his attention to them. And after Enki, the very creator of designs, the designer, right, pondered the matter, he said to his mother, Ninmah, my mother, the creature you planned will truly come into existence. Impose on him the task of carrying the baskets. When I wrote my book, I even argued that this carrying the baskets most likely refers to work, to the labor that is here, and that will refer to the hard work mentioned in other myths. You must need clay from the heights of the Abzu. The birth goddesses, this here means that, well, we're not sure if this is actually what's written, right? They will cut the clay and you will bring form into existence. Let Ninmah act as your assistant, and let Nemas, Suzerana, Nimada, Nimbarana, Nimug, plus a bunch of names that are unreadable, and Minguna be ready while you give birth. My mother, after having decreed his fate, let Ninmah assign him the task of carrying the baskets. So, what is supposed to happen after something is born from here, and it's already authorized, and it's made by molding the clay from the top of the Abzu? They will carry the baskets. They will be substitutes. Substitutes for what? For the gods who were digging the canals. Enki brought joy to their hearts. He prepared a feast for his mother Amma and for Ninmah. All the princely goddesses of birth ate delicate cane and bread. And Enlil and Lord Nadmud roasted holy goats. All the high gods praised him. O Lord of vast understanding, who is as wise as you? Enki, the great Lord, who can match your deeds? Like a corporeal father, you are the one who holds the power to decide destinies. Truly, you are the self. What did Enki and Ninmah do? They drank beer. Their hearts became jubilant. Then Ninmah said to Enki, the body of man can be good or bad, and whether I make a good or bad destiny depends on my will. Enki replied to Ninmah, I will counterbalance any good or bad destiny that you decide. Ninmah took clay from the top of the Abzu in her hand and, with it, first formed a man who could not bend his weak outstretched hands. Enki looked at the man who could not bend his weak, outstretched hands and decreed his destiny, naming him servant of the king. Here, right? Servant. Here, yes, a servant. Now we're going to see a sequence of attempts. See for yourself if this doesn't seem like an experiment. Let's go. Secondly, she formed one who turned, question, to the light, a man with his eyes constantly open. Enki looked at the one who turned to the light, the man with constantly open eyes, and decreed his destiny, granting him the musical arts and making him chief in the presence of the king. Yeah, this means that there are things here we don't read, things we're not sure about. Third, she formed one with both feet broken, one with paralyzed feet. Enki looked at the one with both feet broken, the one with paralyzed feet, and we don't know what is written, he for the work of the goldsmiths. It's the first time we see something related to this here, right? She formed a third and she was born an idiot. Enki looked at this one, the one born an idiot, and decreed his destiny, named him what? Servant of the king. Fourth, she formed one who could not hold his urine. I was right when I said in the other video, in our previous class, that it was the one who, would mess his pants, right? Fourth, she formed one who could not hold his urine. Enki looked at the one who could not hold his urine, bathed him in enchanted water, and expelled the demon Nantar from his body. We saw before that Enki, he would expel demons, right? He was a specialist in exorcisms, and here we can already see that he expelled a demon from his body. Fifth, she formed a woman who could not give birth. Interesting, right? If we remember so many things from the Bible, if we think about Abraham's wife, Sarah. Fifth, she formed a woman who could not give birth. Enki looked at the woman who could not give birth and decreed her fate. He made you a question we don't know, for it belonged to the house of the queen. Sixth, she formed one without a penis or a vagina on their body. Do you know what for? Right? They won't be able to procreate. Enki looked at the one without a penis or a vagina on their body and did what? He gave the name Nibru and Nuko. Here we have our Nibru. I don't know what to say about that, but Nuko, we know, right? And it was decreed as their fate to appear before the king, just another servant of the king. Ninmah threw the clay. Now this is the seventh one, right? Ninmah threw the clay she had pulled from her hand onto the ground, and a great incident occurred. Where is this clay from? From the Abzu. Enki threw all the clay on the ground and was left with a lot. The great Lord Enki said to Ninmah, "Decree the fate of your creatures and give them their daily bread." Wow, man. It's mind-blowing, right? Yeah, it blows our minds. Give them what? The daily bread. This is over there in Sumer. We're talking approximately the tablet, right? Let's talk about the tablet, not what the tablet narrates, but what the tablet says. This tablet must be at least about 2,000 years before Christ. There's nothing, no record earlier than this here, and we already have a piece of "Give us this day our daily bread." Come now, I will form someone for you, and you must decree the fate of the newborn. Enki granted a form with a head and a mouth in the middle and said to Ninmah, "Release the ejaculated semen into the womb of a woman, and the woman will give birth to the semen from her womb." Ninmah stood by for the newborn, and the woman gave birth. In the middle, in exchange, this was the move. His head was afflicted. His place of ellipsis was afflicted. His eyes were afflicted. His neck was afflicted. He could barely breathe. His ribs were trembling. His lungs were afflicted. His heart was afflicted. His entrails were afflicted. With one hand and a drooping head, he could not put bread in his mouth. His spine and head were dislocated. With weak hips and trembling feet, he could not carry her in the field. Enki shaped him this way. So, are these the ones who don't last long in Sitchin's theory? And then Enki goes and intervenes by copulating with two earthly women and thus giving rise to Cain and Baal. We don't know, because as I said, there's no set time, and after this here, I think it's about to end. We don't know what comes next after this. But what's interesting is that we read it anyway, right? Here, this is actual science. Here we are dealing with the tablets. Enki shaped him this way. Enki said to Ninmah, "For your creatures I have decreed a destiny. I have given them their daily bread. Now you must decree the destiny for my creature. Give her daily bread as well." Ninmah looked at Mu and turned to him. She approached Mu, asked questions, but he couldn't speak. She offered him bread to eat, but he couldn't take it. He couldn't lie about it. Ellipsis, he couldn't ellipsis. Standing, he couldn't sit down. He couldn't lie down. He couldn't ellipsis. A house couldn't eat bread. Ninmah replied to Enki, "The man you formed, you haven't seen him dead or alive. He cannot sustain himself." Enki replied to Ninmah, "Decree a destiny for the first man with weak hands. Give him bread. Decree a destiny for the man who returned to the light. Give him bread. Decree a destiny for the one with broken, paralyzed feet. Give him bread. Decree a destiny for the woman who could not give birth. Give her bread. Decree a destiny for the one who has neither penis nor vagina on their body. Give them bread." Two fragmentary lines. Ninmah replied to Enki. Ninmah's response continues. There's something up here that we can't read, right? There are 9 lines we can't read. I wonder what was there, huh? You, she asks, have you entered? Look, you don't live in the sky. You don't live on Earth. You don't go out to look at the Earth. Where you don't live, but WH where you don't live, but where my house is built. Your words cannot be heard. Where you do not live, but where my house is built and I myself am silenced. My city is ruined, my house is destroyed. My son was taken captive. I am a fugitive who had to leave the Eker. Even I could not escape from his hand. Eker. Eker is the mountain house where Enlil lives. According to Sitchin, this is located in Elam, in Medim, right? Enki replied to Ninmah, who could change the words that have come from your mouth? Take the move from your lap, Ninmah. Let work be you for me. What is imperfect and who can oppose that? The man I formed after you, let him pray. Yeah, right? Today, let my penis be praised. Let your wisdom be confirmed. Kenku and Unnaikum proclaim your glory, my sister, the heroic strength, the song, the writing, the gods who heard, let the Mu build, he asks, my house. Ninmah could not rival the great Enki, priest Enki, or father Enki here, right? His praise is sweet. And that's it. It's shocking, isn't it? It's shocking because we know there are some fragmentary parts. These 9 lines here would be of utmost importance. My conspiratorial side is jumping here because there must be something really important in this part. I don't know if they hid it from us. I don't know if, if. You really can't read it, but you can see it's in English and we can still read it with the automatic translator. I think it's worth reading and researching. We're going to read the next text. Here we had opened the transliteration, right? We're going to read the next text, which is text 1:1-3. You'll see it has no connection at all with everything that's there, which is Enki and the world order. We're not going to read the whole thing. We're just going to read a part of it because it's very long, and this one is really very long. I remember its entire length. I'm even going to do a Control F here because I want to show you the part where Enki ejaculates into the river and gives rise to life, so you can see how interesting it is, okay? Let's read the beginning. Great eloquent one, Lord of heaven and earth, self-assured, Father Enki, begotten by a bull, begotten by a wild bull, cherished by Enlil, the great mountain. The great mountain is the Eker, there, Enlil's house. Beloved by Holian, king of the Mesa tree, I don't know what that means here, planted in the Abzu. A tree in the Abzu is already strange, right? And he advances over all the lands. Great Negreo, who is in Eddie Dug, whose shadow over heaven and earth, a grove of vines that stretches over the land. Enki, lord of the abundance of the Inana gods, Nurimud, mighty one of Eker. Eker is the house of the mountain. Fortress of heaven and earth, its great house is founded in the Abzu, the great Akadon. I'm not going to continue here because there are too many texts. I've already read hundreds of these texts here. There really were a lot of texts from here, I think. I don't know if I read the whole site. Maybe I even read everything because there are 400 texts, right? Yeah, a lot of texts have this deification of the gods, right? This homage to the gods, and sometimes there are long sections in the code of Namarave itself. Well, we'll get to Namarave in a moment, okay? I want to show you Rio. Let's write Rio here so we can go straight to this part about ejaculation, which I think is the most interesting part here. And here it is. Look. After he looked away from there, after the priest, the father here, right? Enki lifted his eyes over the Euphrates. He stood up full of lust, like an unrestrained bull, raised his penis, and ejaculated. He filled the Tigris with flowing water. Tigris is the river, right? He was like a wild cow mowing for her calves. A wild grass in its pen infested with scorpions. The Tigris ellipsis at his side, like an unrestrained bull. By raising his penis, he brought any new gift. The Tigris rejoiced in its heart. Tigris, again, right, is the river. Like a great wild bull when it was born, it brought water, flowing water. Indeed, its wine was sweet. It brought barley, speckled barley. Indeed, people will eat it. It filled the eager. As I say, the house of Enlil and all kinds of things. And Bill was delighted with Enki. And Nibru, read here, right? Could it be Nibru? I know it is, right? And Nibru was happy. The Lord placed the diadem as a sign of lordship, put on the fine crown as a sign of royalty, touching the ground on the left side. Many things came forth from the earth for him. Enki, the Lord of Destinies, Enki, the king of the Abzu, was put in charge of all this, the one who holds a scepter in his right hand, the one who, with a glorious mouth, submits the inspection to the devouring force of the Tigris and Euphrates, while prosperity pours from the palace like oil. And Bilulu, the inspirer of waterways. And Bilulu is the one who studied the marshes, according to Sitchin's theory, when he arrived here on Earth. And probably this passage from the lost book of Enki was based here, which says he called the Mother, the marshes, and gave them the various species of carp. He spoke to the reed beds and gave them grain and new shoots of reeds. He issued a challenge. Enki took care of all of this. The one from whose net no fish escapes. He from whose trap no living being escapes. He from whose net no step goes uncovered. Yeah, I'm actually a bit, undecided, a bit shocked, and honestly a bit embarrassed too, because I had said that the birth of the fish appeared here, right? I'm even going to do a Control F, since we're seeing fish here, right? I want to apologize for having said that at some point. You probably noticed, and I actually think it's interesting, to make a mistake like this in a course like this, so you can see how the texts are long, they're extensive, and how we can easily mix up one text with another. Yeah, and here it's also interesting for you to notice how this narrative here inspired the lost book of Enki, and that arrival of the Anunnaki on Earth. When Enki leaves Nibru, Alalu is already here. Enki leaves Nibru and arrives here and starts organizing things. Who takes care of what? Okay? We're going to move on to the next text that I want to show you very quickly, which is Enki's journey to Nibru, or to Nibru. We're not going to read about a spaceship here. We're not going to read anything like that. What we're going to read here is that Enki travels there. Look, he made his way alone to Nibru. He entered the temple terrace, sanctuary of Nibru. Nibru could be the city of Nibru. If we look at it from a spiritual perspective, it could be another dimension, or yes, it could also be another planet. Right? It could be a lot of things. Enki made his way alone to Nibru. He entered the temple terrace, sanctuary of Nibru. Enki took the beer and liquor he had poured in large bronze containers, 3 emerald beer to be served, date syrup, and so on. And here we read, in the sanctuary of Nibru, Enki provided a meal for Enlil, his father. Now it gets confusing, right? But that's just how it is. The texts are confusing. And so I have to be, very honest with you that the texts are really confusing, because Enki's father, who is an Anu, how does Enlil show up now? Right? And here, this father could also be a form of address, like a title. Okay? Like a father, as a matter of respect. He seated him at the head of the table and seated Enlil next to him. He seated Nintur in the place of honor and seated the Inana gods in the adjacent seats. Anunnaki gods. They were all drinking and enjoying beer and liquor. They filled the vessels. They made the beautiful vessels shine with sacred barges, and after they prepared the liquor services, they were poured out and enjoyed. After the chain of Hendil, happiness and joy were brought forth. Enlil addressed the Inana gods. Beloved gods, who are here at Nana, who lined up at Kana, my son the king Enki built the temple. What did Enki do? He made it rise from the ground, like a mountain. He built a pleasant place, a temple made with silver and decorated with lapis lazuli, a house that properly tunes the drums, plays and provides enchantments, where sacred songs make the whole house a charming place. The sanctuary of Abzu, the good destiny of Enki, with speakers of elaborate things to be said in his time, built with silver, and for all this, may the payer be praised. But he did not use the honorific pronoun, which could also cause some confusion here regarding the kinship of the Inana gods, who are actually brothers of Enlil, right? Our once upon a time takes us to a time we don't really know when it is. And here it's very clear, in those remote days, a time that's very, very ancient. Maybe here, in Sitchin's theory, it refers to a time before human beings were born, before genetic manipulation. And that's actually what's here. What are we going to read? It was the Sumerians who wrote the tablets. And the tablets that the Sumerians wrote tell us that the ones who made the temples, who built things, who raised them from the ground like a mountain, Enki built the temple in Eridu. Who? I'm almost losing my train of thought here. Who built the city of Eridu? Was it the Sumerians? The Sumerians claim it was the Anunnaki gods. I find all of this really shocking, you know. I hope it's just as shocking for you, and that you realize how hard it is to interpret and understand these texts here at the same time. The last text I'm going to quickly show you from here. Actually, there's another one that we'll get to in a moment, but this is the second to last one, right, that I'm going to show you. You can read The Descent of Inana to the Underworld, and I'll show you. I have it right here next to me, Samuel Noah Kramer's book, History Begins at Sumer. Let's go to chapter 19. It says, The Underworld, the First Resurrection Narrative. That's exactly what it says, the first resurrection narrative. So you see, right, it's not me saying this. Samuel Noah Kramer is the one saying it's the first mythological resurrection narrative. The problem is, if we hit Control F here and search for resurrection, we won't find it. It's already causing a lot of noise, because there's no resurrection in this text. But he's conclusive, because at a certain point, it says here that whoever reaches the underworld, let me see if I can quickly find it to show you. See, 77 occurrences for underworld. Whoever reaches the underworld doesn't leave the underworld. The underworld is the lower world. It's hell. It's the world of the dead. That's all it is. And whoever enters doesn't leave the underworld. But what happens? Enki manages to get Inana out of the underworld. Here it says, look, don't let the young Inana be killed in the underworld. Here, who, having reached this place, could expect to rise again? The divine powers of the underworld are divine powers that should not be targeted, for whoever receives them must remain in the underworld. This part is when Inana tries to obtain Ereshkigal's powers in the underworld, because then she ends up, wanting everything she can get, including the underworld. And then Enki manages to talk over there and gets Inana to return. And then it's very interesting. This text is long, right? You'll be able to read it too, okay? It's text 1.4.1. You look for that number there, 1.4.1. Go by the number and find it. You'll read here that Inana sends for Dumuzi. Dumuzi is alive and Inana is in the underworld. For her to be able to be reborn, someone has to leave the world of the living. She chooses Dumuzi, right, her lover. And then they come to take Dumuzi. He let out a moan and cried. The young man raises his hands to the sky, to Utu. Utu is the sun god in the mythology, right? You are my brother-in-law. I brought butter to your mother's house. I brought milk to Ningal's house. Turn my hands into snake hands. Turn my feet into snake feet, so I can escape from my demons, so they can't hold me, and it won't do any good. Dumuzi's demons couldn't transform anyway. But Dumuzi escapes and then lets them escape, and so we read here that Dumuzi is the substitute. Inana gave Dumuzi as her substitute. And it's precisely this text, this here, that tells the stories of the birth and rebirth of the gods connected to time, to agriculture, and to the season of the earth's fertility, of harvest as well. It's really interesting for us to be able to read these texts, right? This one, in particular, is a fantastic text, and it would be really cool for you to read this text here as well. Let's close this, let's close this, let's close this, let's close this, and let's close this. How can we find a name? You're going to come here and look for list of proper nouns. Sorry, let's put the translation. Look, sometimes it doesn't activate the translation here at the input, okay? We're going to put list of proper nouns here. I want to find Hammurabi. Is there any text talking about Hammurabi? Let's go to H and let's do a Control F and type in Ham. We're not going to find him here, okay? I thought it wouldn't work because of that little dash under the H, but it did. After you manage to find it, which is like this, HA-AM-MU-RA-D1, you're going to copy it, royal name, okay? You can see there that it's a royal name. You're going to hit Control C here, you're going to copy it, and we're going to go back to the home page. So we're going to clear this here, go to Advanced Search, and paste his name here. Tada. Look, my Tada was wrong. So it's because there's this H here, C, that we need to remove. Now it shows up, okay? Now, I can do a multi-channel search, okay? The little 10 here in front of Enlil, to show that there's a God, I'm going to open 3 texts here. I can't remember if it's the 3rd or 4th text. I know them. We'll see. I want to show you. It's not this one, and it's not this one. It's this one here. Let's close this one on the side. In fact, there will be 2 times of the same meaning. I was pretty sure it was this one. Translation into Portuguese. I won't even tell you what it is. We'll see together. Biasarluhi. But what is Asarluhi? Oh, I already taught you. Gods, Mesopotamian, God, Eduardo. This one could be from QOTG. It was a time we already got there. Come on. He shows up here. Look, okay? We got here, list of deities, and let's go to Asarluhi. Asarluhi is one of the sons of, let's put it in the translation. Sorry, let's put it in the translation, since no one is required to know English to take this course, right? Asarluhi is the son of Enki, a god of incantation and magic, sometimes merged with Marduk. That thing I explained to you back there, right? And here we'll see that he is, in fact, Marduk, because out of nowhere Marduk shows up here. First there's Asarluhi, then suddenly Marduk appears. Look at what it says here. Oh, Asarluhi, destiny for me, O Hammurabi. You're an empty, an Enlil, and Enti with him, when they decided, all the great gods together, turn your minds to Marduk. Marduk says to the great gods, you have the shepherd of your hearts to exercise his reign on earth. Determine his destiny grandly with your sacred mouths. Appoint your word to him, the tireless shepherd. The great gods say, we appoint him king over the 4 corners of the world. Hammurabi, humble prince acceptable to the gods, our word, we grant you authority over the black-headed people. Black-headed people, the Sumerians. We who? The great Anunnaki gods, and Enlil, Enki, and Marduk, we give you authority over the black-headed people. The inhabitants of the earth, keeping order so that your reign endures, may it be a shining bark, may your shepherding be steadfast, and may the people in the pastures rule equally, your triumphant roar like Ishkur covering his mouth, the fiery god of fire, down in the highlands, may the young Utu be the restrainer. And then it basically goes on with a chant, right, and then it says the following, Hammurabi is the command of an and Enlil, of heaven and earth. Throughout the world, and Enlil, O king, among the great gods, Asarluhi. So here we have Asarluhi, the Asarluhi here, and Marduk. In Babylon, the dwelling of joy, the noble son of the gods, royal name, they firmly declare their consent to him. When the power of Enlil over the numerous people, they manifested his destiny, the life of the land. They exalted Hammurabi, their benevolent shepherd, and over all the black-headed people, the one whom Enki favors on earth. Enki has a special preference for Hammurabi, and so they grant Hammurabi power over the black-headed people. Now let's take a look at something. Hammurabi's Code, PDF. And let's see if this one has it. I have it here, but I want to find one that has the prologue so we can read it together. Now that's jaw-dropping. It's jaw-dropping. Shall we check here? No. Here it's only going to have what I call bedtime stories, right? Friday, I went to Sumer during the period. I was born in Mabel, blah, blah, blah. This doesn't say anything. This doesn't tell what's most shocking and most important. Let's go back. Let's go back because this tells us absolutely nothing. I think this one I have, which is from a university, and it has its own prologue. Let's check it out. Here, the PDF file, it has the prologue. I want to show you the prologue. Oh, the prologue is jaw-dropping. You'll say, why didn't they show this at school? Isn't this an extremely important code of laws? Just look at what's in the code of Hammurabi. When Anu, the sublime king of the Anunnaki, and Bel, the lord of heaven and earth. Most likely, this here is Enlil, okay? Decreed the fate of the earth, assigned to Marduk, the Almighty, son Gerar, god of all that is just, to rule over humanity, making him great among the Ejiji. They called Babylon by her illustrious name, made her great in the earth, and founded in her an everlasting kingdom, whose foundations are as solid as those of heaven and earth. Then Anu and Deo called my name, Hammurabi. Who writes? Hammurabi. Or he dictates it to some scribe, right? The exalted prince who feared God to bring justice to the land, to destroy the wicked and criminal so that the strong would not harm the weak, so that I might rule over the people with dark heads. We just read that. See how amazing that is. Yeah, I remember. I got totally obsessed when I discovered these topics. So what did I do? I was going crazy accessing this TCSL here, reading these numbers, looking for correlations. And there, I was actually at the beach reading this on my phone. Actually, that's not true. It wasn't on my phone, it was on my e-reader. I downloaded it, sent it to my e-reader. I was jumping for joy. I found Hammurabi. When they hand over the scepter, reading elsewhere, their scepter. They gave the scepter of power, and it's right here in the prologue. We can confirm it. It's true. It's here, and we have the term Anunnaki in the code of Hammurabi. Can you believe it? Do you think that's wrong? Look at the authority of this. UFMS. University. So, we see that the Anunnaki topic is valid. It's scientific. There's science here. It's not some crazy thing that we can just dismiss. Let me make a side note. The Code of Hammurabi is not the oldest code known to humanity, even though many people think so. The oldest one known today is the Code of Euarnamu. Here it is in English. Look, Code of Laws, okay. The Code of Euarnamu. This one is, as we know today, the oldest code of laws, and not even, and, as Samuel Kramer himself says in his books, it will very likely lose its title as the oldest. And now, to leave you amazed at the end here, I'll tell you that the next class is going to be a broader one. We won't be reading texts like we did here, but I'll show you a bunch of websites, teach you how to research, tablets, and so on, other sites, other references for you to look up, okay? List of kingdoms of Sumer. Oh, there are people who think this is all nonsense. So, a great invention, right? Here is the term Shars, which we read in Theoidicity, right? After royalty descended from the heavens, it was in Eridu. Or Eridu. But who really built Eridu? Enki. We just read it on the tablets themselves. Enki raised Eridu. And then it says, did the Anunnaki write this? No, it was the Sumerians. After royalty descended from the heavens, where was it? In Eridu. Eridu and Aulim became king and ruled for 28,800 years. Lucas, but are you kidding me? You're going to read Wikipedia. Let's take a look at something. Eps. City in Sumerian. You can already see that I've done this before, right? Of course, I had to check it out beforehand so we could build the course properly, right? Here's the text. Here's the text. Same TCSL site, we can put the translation here. And we're going to see. After kingship descended from heaven, kingship was in Eridu. Kingship descended from the heavens, it was in Eridu. In Eridu, Aulim became king and ruled for 28,800 years. Alilhar, here it's Aelauger, right? He ruled for 36,000 years. I haven't done this, but I've seen it before. There's a Korean guy on YouTube making a video in English, doing this comparison with math calculations and all. Pretty interesting. It's not very easy to find. He's not really an expert either, but it's still cool to watch. But do this. Take this list here, put it in a chart, and take everyone from the Bible who is antediluvian and compare them to see how there are, things that let us make, a comparison. I even get emotional showing you this, because I don't know of any other Anunnaki course that exists, not in the world, not even in our country. Actually, I admit I haven't looked for one, but I've never heard of it, and as for our country, I've never seen a course like this. These are, in fact, researches that I did myself. Long, meticulous research, studies. And I find it very moving to share this with you. I hope you can feel that I'm doing this wholeheartedly and with passion to pass it on to you. The only thing I'd like to say in closing is that Aulim, as I've already mentioned before, in another text, Aulim here for city is probably Alalu, but we know it's not Alalu. Adulim is comparable. If you search here for Aulim, Adam, you'll find people saying, you'll find several sites asking whether Aulim, the first king of Sumer, was Adapa. Not Adapa, sorry, Adam, as in Adam from the Bible. There's even a question here. Look, is Adam Aulim? This one's in Korean. Look, if you want to check it out. This video is quite interesting, though he's not an expert and his English is really hard to understand. Maybe his English is as bad for him as mine is when I try to speak English because of my accent. But it's interesting for us to, observe, in case you want to, okay? I'm still going to show you the Epic of Atrahasis, very quickly, the Enuma Elish, and I'll show you some other things too. If it gets too tight, I'll make the next class a little longer, okay? Let's see, because my goal is not to leave you missing any information, alright? A little preview of what we're going to see in the next class. If we search for Atrahasis Epic Oxford, we'll find a scientific article here on JSTOR, which is a database for history, science, and geography. And here on the World History, I'll show you this site in detail. This is the Atrahasis Epic, and you won't be able to use a translator here because it's a PDF, okay? Actually, sorry, it's not this one, it's this page here, see? It's also hosted at a university, look, at UFSC. And here is a piece from a book published by Oxford. Yeah, and here we have the Great Anunnaki, USI Gigium. And we're going to have Enki creating human beings. Here we'll have Nusko or Nuska, the Vizier, and today I'm going to explain to you what Enlil's Vizier is. We'll meet again in the next class with a bit more of these texts, a great training with websites and different things for you to find. And we're getting to the end of our course, right? We're about to start our second to last class next. I'll see you in our next class. See you later.